Hey, everybody, welcome to Free Enterprise Warriors. We are here speaking to vets and also to their allies, meaning people that can help them, talk to them about starting a business or jump-starting their business. But I just want to welcome to the podcast today, Connor Tyson. He's a personal financial coach and a money coach, and his company is Progress Solutions. Did I get that right, Connor?
You did. Perfect so far.
Awesome, great. So welcome. And the reason, Connor and I have known each other for a number of years. Really interested in how you are always presenting and educating everyone in our network. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to talk about how veterans, especially, can I think you have some steps for if they're starting a business, more, maybe not steps, more advice.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself first, and
Sure.
then we'll get into what that advice is. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So many people may or may not know this. So I was a financial advisor for 22 years. Chartered financial consultant, had all the designations you can think of. And then basically I kept bumping into people that needed help in the basics of things I wasn't really concentrating on, right? So what were those things? It was like budgeting, debt elimination, the stuff they should have taught you in school. And
Yeah.
that's what kind of translated into me being like a coach. Let me not sell anything besides education, empowerment, intentionality. And how could I do that with the knowledge and the background I have? And I have a degree in finance and all that. So I was like, let me be a coach. Let me be people's guide and teach them the things they should have learned in school
Yeah.
a long time ago and help people moving forward.
But that's so, again, like you said, we should have learned, we should have possibly learned this earlier, but you're never too late, right?
No. Unfortunately, some people don't have the positive role models to teach them as kids. We don't get taught this in schools, but it's never ever too late. So I work with everything from 85-year-old widows to college graduates and everything in
Okay,
between.
great. So, one of the things, as I said in our opening, is that we're looking to help veterans to start a business, to and maybe even if they're working for someone else. In your case, you could still help them when you talk about the financial literacy, right? But particularly today, we'll talk about the advice of what I think you said, 3 things that you could really give tips when you're starting. So please, if you're listening to this, you don't have to be a veteran, but we just want to make sure that they know that we're here, that we're supporting them, and thankful for all that they've done for us. So what's your first tip or first educational piece?
Well, yeah. So when you're daydreaming about your business, if you're just starting out, something to be aware of that I've come across a lot, and I've seen in my own instances that starting a business or running a business, it costs way more than you initially think, right? So it's just be cognizant of that, be aware that whatever it is you think it's going to cost, it's probably more because there's unforeseen things that come up, recurring expenses, things of that nature. So some of those things is like the foundation of the business, right? So the formation of it, being an LLC, an S corp, right? That there's licensing fees, there's marketing, there's networking, there's owner's compensation, right? We don't work for you got to pay yourself some a salary of some sort, right? Website hosting, market, all those things, and there's incidentals along the way that you don't think of, right? So that would be my first tip.
So let's go into that just a little bit, because so many people are like, oh, you can buy a business, like an idea for kind of online something for $99.
Mhm.
But what they're doing is they're not telling you that there is a lot of, as you said, not even incidentals, really foundation, as you said.
Yeah.
And like, we know this because you've done it, I've done it, and some of us have done it a few times, right?
Yeah, the
So we have that
operating
background.
costs. Yep.
But I think that and also you have to be careful, because some people will, they're like, oh, you need to have a website, you need to have all these things. So what's your suggestion for, is it getting a budget together? How does that work?
Yeah, so you want to have an idea of a rough idea, because you're not going to know clearly, is your overall operating expenses, of what that would be. So you always want to have a cash management system too. So cash management systems, right? So you have a way in which managing the cash flow of your business. So when you start out, another tip, right, is basically you want to overseed your business in the beginning. So if you're just starting out fresh, you don't want to commingle personal and business funds moving forward long term. So the way in which to do that is, let's just say you think it's going to cost $2,000 or $1,000 a month to run this business. You want to overfund that initially, so you don't have to go back into your personal funds and keep pulling money from your personal to fund your business.
So you're talking about a separate bank account that's in the LLC's name or whichever kind of structure your company has?
Yep, keep it separate, and then overseed it initially to the almost 3 times as much as you think you're going to need. Why? Because it usually takes 3 months of revenue to get a business underneath its feet and running, right? So let's just say I think it's $1,000. I put $3,000 initially. That should give me enough until the revenue stream of my business is covering all my expenses, at least.
And 3 months is probably good. Sometimes it could be more depending on what time you have to put into it, right?
Yeah.
Because the other thing is like you and I were talking about this before, but it's even if time is money, right? That's something that you have to almost budget for a little initially, saying how many hours per week can I give to this? Maybe time blocking for it. So budgeting your time.
Yeah, that's a good point. So time is money, right? So the amount of hours you put in your business, it's longer than it would be for a 9-to-5 job. This is not a 9-to-5 career, right? So you have things you definitely want to account for, where you will easily work 12-hour days some days or more. And that constitutes for a lot of things that you have to give up for, which is money. And that, yeah, good point. Like, you need to account for those things. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about that because I know that I was, working on projects. I was doing many other things. And when my children were small, when I started a national networking group called Master Networks. I started the New York region. I was also trying to make money other ways while I started that. And, sometimes I would have to work very late at night just to have it when it's quiet, when the kids were sleeping.
Yeah.
Or I'd stop work when they got off the bus, and then, kind of be there for the homework, maybe start dinner and then go back to it. And one of the things I was recently at VetCon, well, actually it was about 6 months ago. I was at VetCon, which is a veterans conference up in Albany, New York. And that was part of it. I was asking some of the people that were going by, I had a booth and I was just talking to people and they were saying that, I want to start this business. And I said, well, what are you willing to give up? Time wise, are you willing to give up that, that show that you're binge watching, because we all know multitasking doesn't work. So, but the thing is, number one, you don't want to give up the time with your family. So it's like, you've got to put that into it. So I could almost see that your calendar could be part of the, as you said, to creating this system. Right.
Yeah, you need, like my days today are completely different. Like I get up, I prioritize my day around those things that are important to me. And the one thing about being an entrepreneur, as you know, is it's your time. You can structure your business any way you want and how it operates. If you want to work graveyard shift, go ahead. No one's stopping you, right? So I build my day around what's important to me. So I have family in the morning, then I exercise, and then I start work, right? So I build, so those things don't suffer because of my business. And sometimes, I have to hit pause and then work from 10 to midnight sometimes. But that happens too.
I have a question for you. I know we haven't gotten to the other two points, but one last thing on this was, so, do you say to yourself, I can't start this business before I get $3,000 in the bank?
No, I mean, it ties into another point, which is the mission, right? So you want to get really clear on your why. what is it that's driving your passion to start this business? It might be a great idea. Is that enough? Right? Because there's going to be some really tough days, tough weeks, tough weekends
Yeah,
where you have to be very clear on why you're doing what you're doing. Who else is it benefiting? Who benefits from it? What's at stake here? And those things push you through those rough patches, which will happen. And you can get out on the other end as a stronger person because of it. And you can carry other people along with you, right? Because there's other people around you. Like we're in the environment that we're in, we know other entrepreneurs that are going through tough times.
exactly.
And when you've been where I'm going, or I've been where you're going through right now, I can tell you about my experience and give you some strength and hope and put you through it, right? And help each other out, right? So that's part of my why also.
Well, I mean, so I had said to you, or I had said just previously, was that like, what are you willing to, you shouldn't really say the word give up, but
Sacrifice, partake in.
sacrifice maybe is better. I was again, and when I was at VetCon, this young man came up and he said, he was talking about, he had been in the Army, water treatment engineer, let's say. And he was working currently he was a vet, he was working for a water treatment company. He wants to start his own business. But when he came up to me, he said, oh, my business is very, very, very small. And I said, well, you know what? It's going to stay very, very, very small if you talk like that.
Yeah.
Right. So I said to him, have an idea in mind of, what the future is going to look like. Kind of like if you know what your mission is. So in his case, his mission is to start his own water treatment and just to dream about what that's going to look like, because that's going to keep you going. And your mission is, as I know, in speaking to veterans, it's very important to them. It's kind of, it's ingrained. So if you look at it as though the mission is the thing that can keep you going, that can keep you to propel you to move your time around, move your money around. So obviously, I agree with you that the mission is incredibly important, and your thoughts and not having the limiting beliefs
Yeah.
can derail the mission.
Yeah. Scarcity versus abundance, your money mindset. I teach that also, or I talk to it, in that you have to have abundance mindset, because at every turn you self-doubt yourself or the purpose of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that's tough. You have to get a really good support network around you. And that could be motivational, that could be podcasts, it could be a lot of different things, but to keep you focused on what you're doing, why you're doing it through those tough patches. Because in the beginning, it's a whirlwind. I mean,
Yeah,
you're drinking from a fire hose, right? You have to figure out how things work and all. It can be very intimidating. I have a degree in finance, right? I should know this stuff in and out. I was a financial advisor for 22 years. Starting your own business is intimidating. It's
well,
scary
because
sometimes.
let's say that the young man that knows about water treatment, but does he know how to run a business? That's the E-Myth, right? The book, The E-Myth, I
Great
think it's
book.
by Gerber. And it talks about, are you just doing the transaction? Are you doing the one thing, but are you actually also building or learning how to build a business? Because when you're the entrepreneur, you have to do everything.
Man of many hats. Yeah. So are you working in the business or are you working on the business?
The business. Yeah,
So
exactly.
working on the business is marketing, strategic thought of how do I get to this next rung on the ladder, right?
So that's putting the time in the calendar, right?
That's putting time in the calendar. That's planning. You have to be proactive versus reactive, especially as an entrepreneur.
And then you said, what was the other thing, the last thing you had said about, well, you did talk about this a little bit, was don't commingling the funds.
Commingling the funds. So I see it a lot in the business that I'm doing now as coaching, is that you looking back, right? So what happens is you grow the business, and let's say you're 3 years down the road, right? You have personal expenses that your business is paying, and then you have business expenses you're paying out of your personal bank account. Accountants, if you talk to any accountant, red flag. They absolutely hate it, loathe it. Why? Because you're not taking advantage of certain tax credits or tax deductions, right, underneath the business. There's a lot of different reasons to do it. You want to be organized in what you're doing, right? And you have a good grasp of your cash flow of your business. Like, what are you actually spending on the expenses?
So you can make better decisions,
Yes.
business decisions, Because if you know what you're spending, let's say your marketing ends up being, 50% of your budget, that's not good.
No, you
So,
don't, yeah.
so you need to kind of know, what's going on. Is this the kind of thing that, that you help people with?
Absolutely. So I do personal financial coaching to help people with budgeting, debt elimination, money mindset, saving for the future. And I also help small business owners, right? So there's a lot of things that are similar, but also very different in business, right? So operating expenses, taxes, and profit, right? The reason why you're going into business is a great purpose, but the real reason hopefully is a mission greater than, but part of it is profit, right? Otherwise it's a hobby.
Yeah, if you don't know your numbers, it's a hobby.
Correct. Yep. And there's certain ways of going about it, right? Which I've found to be more successful than others. You can get there in many ways, but a straight line is usually better because of the path people before you have beaten down. So you can learn from other people's mistakes, right? Smart people learn from other people's mistakes.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
And
So,
yeah.
And so you would be willing to speak with someone, if somebody wants to contact you, just talk to them, give them some, again, your advice was know your mission, right?
Yep.
Know what's going to cost you and figure out those by having, its own, not commingling your funds, really having your own bank account
Yep.
that's for the business. And so all of that, you could also have a longer discussion with anyone
Yeah,
listening.
specifics of because there's different industries, there's different ways of going about it, but my resources are pretty vast. So it's not just me. I have a whole connection of people called Coach Connections behind me, tons of resources to help small business owners. If I don't know the answer, I know someone that does. I'm definitely willing to help veterans or anybody else that needs help in starting their own American dream, right? Their own business, their own future. And I have the best way to get in contact with me would be my website, which would be www.progress. I want to make progress FC, which is financial coaching.com. So progressfc.com. All the information's on that website. You can book a 30-minute consultation free, and we'll get down to
And
brass
what's your
tacks.
connection to because you and I have talked about this, is like, I'm not a veteran, haven't been one, but it doesn't, I want to meet them where they are. I want to help them. So that's kind of your one of your missions also, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I want to meet people where they are. My father was a Korean War veteran. So he was Purple Heart, Bronze Star, and everything like that. And he grew me up to be patriotic and, American loving, and do everything you can for veterans, because without them, you probably wouldn't be here. And that was instilled in me at a very young age. So anytime I get an opportunity to help veterans in any way, shape, or form, I do so. And that's, this is part of that mission.
Thank you for doing that, because I feel the same way. My father, a veteran of World War II. My mother was was getting blitzed in London, and came over here, and I'm first generation, and being able to be a business person, be entrepreneur, especially as a woman. I figured, I wanted to start Free Enterprise Warriors. I did that with my friend, mentor, and my partner, Dave Jenks, who has passed on, but left such a legacy behind of how to create businesses, how to go, how to really help Main Street, because that's what we feel with Free Enterprise that we're supporting. Free enterprise meaning, the type of economy where people can start their own businesses, they flourish, they thrive, and warriors to be guardians of that free enterprise. So, Connor, I want to say thank you so much for coming and speaking with me. Always a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to know you this whole time, and to watch you grow and to watch your journey.
Yes. I want to thank you, Tina, for giving me the opportunity to help in any way, shape, or form today. And that's it. Thanks for the platform, and look forward to helping as many as I can.
Great. Okay. So it was www.progressfc.com.
Correct.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Connor. Appreciate you.
Take care.